In this video, I'm going to share with you a workflow so advanced that you probably never had seen it on YouTube. And let me show you the video it produces, and it has a catch, and I'll tell you after you watch the video.
Strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Seneca: when traffic jams, deadlines loom, or plan for growth. Ancient Wif's chaos isn't your enemy. It's every obstacle secretly.
So the video you just saw wasn't made by some video model. It was purely made from images. Yes, you heard it right. Just images, no video model. So let me show you how you can do this. So before we even get into the workflow, let me show you the requirements and how you can fulfill them. So here are all the requirements that you need. Firstly, you need n8n. Then you need min.io to store things. Then you need a text-to-speech model. I'm using this. You can use something else. Then you need something to add subtitles. I'm using NCA Toolkit. You can use something else. Then I need an image generation system. I'm using Comfy UI. And you cannot use a plain image model. And I'm going to tell you later why you cannot use a plain image model as we go ahead. Then you need DepthFlow custom nodes. Then how much does it cost? It costs 0. And I will give this workflow away when we hit 500 likes, but I'll show you everything, each code. So if you want to replicate it, you can just replicate it. So firstly, let's come here. This is the first thing you want to run if you're building this. So this says run this only once. So firstly, we're going to be using the library called ffmpeg to generate videos. So ffmpeg is a library which can manipulate videos. So we're going to attach and do all these things to the videos using ffmpeg. So by default, it does not come built into the container. So what you can do is open your n8n container. So you can write this command, replace the container ID with the n8n container ID, and then it's going to open a terminal, but with the root permissions. So you can install ffmpeg. That's all you need to do here. Next step, these are a few steps, which I'm going to show you in a different workflow, because if I run this, it's going to remove all of this from here. So here is this workflow. So what this workflow does is when you click on this, it's going to run this execute node. So we are making some folders. So mkdir means make directory. That is what mkdir means. And we're making all these folders. So firstly, we make animated shorts folder. So let me show you exactly where the folders are. If you go to n8n's container and you see the files, you will see inside the home, the node, you will see that we have a folder called animated shorts. So we create this folder, and then inside of this, we create a stoic folder, and then we create effects, images, songs, videos, and voiceover folder. So we have everything arranged, because when you're running this complex workflow, it has a lot of things that need to be stored when you're computing things. So we need some place to store. So I'm just going to store it locally. You can also store it on the drive, but you will have to download everything locally to execute, because you can only execute where there is ffmpeg to make the videos. So it has to have the files, else it won't run. So we're creating this folder, then we're creating the Stoic folder inside of this, then we're creating the images folder inside of Stoic, which is inside of animated shorts, and you can just see this thing. So you can just see all the folders that I'm creating. The next thing I'm doing is I have uploaded a song on Drive in this folder, so I'm going to give this to you as well. You can have your own songs, you can just do whatever, right? So this entire workflow is fully modular and will fit into your songs. But make sure the overlay is not super big. Even this is 32 megabytes. I tried compressing it. It won't go lower. So that's the hard limit, I believe, for that. So you need to download your song and place that song using this node, which is the read-write node, in the songs folder. So animated shorts, Stoic songs, and then the name of the file. And then the next thing you need to do is download the overlay similarly and place it into the effects folder. So that's what this means. Run this only once, because you just need to run it once, because you don't have to create folders over and over again. And you can see that this is throwing me an error because, as you can see, the file already exists. So all the folders are already there, so I cannot run this, right? So that's why this is red. So you just have to run this once perfectly without any errors. Like if this fails here, that doesn't mean you have completed it. If that happens, what you can do is like turn these nodes off from here. Then they would behave as if they're not there. And then you can execute again from here. That's going to execute this, this, and this, right? So that's first thing explained. Now let's move on to the actual workflow. The first thing is we have a schedule trigger, because this is a time-based workflow. You can just trigger it at some certain points. If you want to add other things, for example, a trigger-based workflow from a webhook, you can do that too. That's just up to you. You can customize it as you like. Then you have this video key. You define keywords, time to publish, which is just fetch from this now command, which is built in. So then you have the video theme. The reason why we set the video theme is because we give it to the script and the image script as well. So the images are of that type, like you saw in the video I showed you earlier. That's how it gets more personalization from. For example, if you just changed it to some kind of anime and other things, and then you change this to like Japanese things, so that's going to give you that kind of videos. Then I've defined the song and the overlay. You can just change these according to your liking, whatever you're using. Then you have this basic LLM chain, and this is the prompt that you are a genius scriptwriter with mastery in writing short motivational script around this length. And then I have given it some examples, like pick stuff from these people. And I've also defined the title length, the description length, and the script length. And I also gave it some other things, how it should write. So that is done for the script. And when you run this, you will get the script. And it's going to look something like this. And because I have turned this on, require specific output parser, and then I've attached an output parser with these configurations, title, description, and script. What this does is it gives you the script in this form. It gives you a title, description, and script. And that's perfect, except that you have these kind of things in the script. You have this new line character, you have these quotes, and they're all fine, but not if you send a JSON. So whenever you send a JSON, let me just go draw here. So whenever you send a JSON, the command looks like this. You're wrapping all your JSON commands inside of the request. So if there's another quote, that just messes up the JSON. That means that this is the first quote and this is the second. And now all the things in the middle are not JSON. And then the JSON starts again and then ends again. So you can see why the request fails. Whenever you get JSON is invalid, this might be the issue. And that's how you avoid it using the script cleaner. So you run this code, and this is applicable to any kind of workflow. If you have some kind of text that is generated with special characters, you need to remove them. And there are other workarounds as well, which I'm not going to talk here. When I run this, you see that I got a clean script and I also get a word count. And now you can see that there are no quotes or any kind of special character that can mess up the JSON. There are no new lines and everything. There are these question marks and this dash, but that's not a problem. The next thing is we make a file. The reason we make a file is even though we have created these folders, as you can see here, we made all the folders. So I want to separate each project by the file name as well. So there cannot be many voiceovers, right? You can have directly voiceover stored here. That won't be an issue. You won't have any issues with the videos as well, because there will just be 1 or 2 per project, per run. The song will be just one, effects will be just one. But when you make the images or the videos, which are the intermediate steps, there might be tens of images. That means there'll be like one more. And then if you run this workflow for 2 or 3 times, that means now you have 30 images, considering if you do 10 per round. So if you just do 20, that's just 40 images. So I'm not doing any manipulations here, but in the images, I make another folder. And the folder is derived from the title. So let's look at this thing. I take the title and I remove all the stuff from it. For example, if there's some special character or anything, and then I turn into this case. So everything is separated by this underscore. So there's a consistency in the name. So then I use this name to make the folders, right? So that's why I make another folder so everything is inside of it. And now you can see once I have made the file name, I take all the data inside this configure data node and I add the name, the description, the keywords, the script, the file name, video theme, video song, overlay. All these things just go here. The reason is because then we can add it to the Google Sheets. Once I run this, and you actually have to configure Google Sheets here. And let me also give you some more resources. As I told you earlier that these are the requirements, I have all the videos here that would help you set these up. And you can also set up the Google API from this, the Sheets API, and this just 6-minute video. So after that is done, I can also show you the sheets. So there you go. This is the sheet. After this is done, you can generate the voiceover. And you have to give it the clean script. Do not give it the script directly generated from the LLM, because that's going to be dirty. That's why we give it the clean script here. As you can see, this is the script, and you can see there is no And you can see that there is nothing in the middle, nothing is breaking the script. And if I run this, I will get a voice, and this is how it looks.
Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor.
So that is how the voiceover looks. And then we save the voiceover in the folder we created. You can see that this was the main folder, and inside the voiceover, I save it using audio and then underscore and the file name, which I get all the file names from the actual thing we created, which is this. So there is no typo in the middle. It is consistent throughout the workflow. We don't manually type it, and we don't have to change it. It just runs, and new folder names and file names come in. They just get stored, and everything gets processed as it should. The next thing is, I already told you, we make the folders. Then we head to the image script writer. And this is the exact prompt. The prompt is that you're a masterful video director, and I'm going to give you this. I tell it the amount of chunks it has to separate. So the chunks, it gets it from, so the number of chunks, it gets it from the number of images. Because we're saying that take the script, you have to make visuals of that script, but you have to separate that into these numbers. So let's look at the first thing. If you set that you only need 5 images per round or like per video, then it's going to feed 5 here. So it's going to take the entire script, which is this, and it's going to just separate it into 5. Now I have given it 10, so it's going to separate this into 10. And once I run this, you will see that I get this entire single output. There's prompt 1, then there's prompt 2, up to 10. So there are 10 prompts in this. The next thing is we need to separate the prompts before we give it to the LLM. So after we have separated it, you can see that I have the prompt splitter. This splits up the prompts, and this gives you each prompt by itself. So it is not clumped together like the previous node. Then you take it to the generate images in ComfyUI. This is where the entire magic happens. You have this general ComfyUI URL wherever it's running for you, and you have these headers, content type, and application JSON. And this is the entire thing. And let me also take you to ComfyUI now to show you what's going on. So firstly, we have this normal image model, and then we have this LoRa. We generate the image using this positive prompt and the negative prompt, and then we put it through the K-sampler, and then we decode the image, and then we upscale it. After upscaling, this is where the entire magic happens of how it's working. So this is a depth anything V2 node. So this is a separate node. How it functions is like this. So suppose you have an image. So you might already have heard about parallax effect, right? So you might have watched some YouTube channels which use parallax effect very heavily. So what that is suppose you have an image, and in this image, you have this person standing here. There's one more person, and then there are a few trees in the background, and then there's like a pyramid at the end. So if you look at this image, if you make it seem in this axis, if you break it down like this, if you arrange these objects by depth, you will see that this person is standing in the front, and this person is also at the same length. Then you have these trees a bit in the background. Then you have this pyramid at the end. That means if you manipulate the lengths between these items, you can get the visual motion. So for example, you can see here, you can see the visual motion, and this is not from anything else. So even if you see in this, let me just show you in this one, you can see the visual motion as it's moving very slightly. It is zooming in, but this is not a normal zoom in. So it's separating everything by the length. And let me just show you this as well. As it's moving inward, so it's separating all these things according to the depth, and then it's manipulating it. So if you look at this, so you can see how these things in the front, as you can see, I'll play it again. These things in the front are moving super fast, but at the end, this is not moving enough. That means it's separating it by the depth. And then it's manipulating these items in the front to move. And that creates this visual effect of movement just from an image. And you might also see that there are artifacts here. As you can see, this is stretching. So you can change settings here. So if you think it's stretching too much, let me just zoom in here. If you think it's stretching too much, you can change and play around with these node settings. So now you can see the strength is 1 and everything is 1. You can just reduce it to 0.4, 0.6, or 0.8 according to your settings. And I've already configured everything here, and I just give it a prompt. And once you have this prompt ready, you get this input, you just run it. This is going to give 10 requests to the ComfyUI, and it's going to create 10 videos. And now depending how fast your system is, it's going to be pretty fast. So I have a fairly slow system. That's why it's taking a minute for this video to be generated. So if you have a faster system, it might just take 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or 15 seconds per image. So after we have generated those, we get the images info. Then we get all the images info from this node and we pass it to the image URL. And now this separates all the image info and makes a simple array of all the prompt IDs, file names, and where the files are stored. Then we fetch all of them. And this is where it all fetches. And you can also see the same thing here, that it's stretching it, right? It's just manipulating the depth. And that's what depth anything does. It just uses parallax. Then we save all these images locally inside the folder, as you can see from here. You have this animated short, and this is the exact folder. And inside of the file, you have another folder which we made earlier from this node. We created this folder, right? Then we fetch that folder name, and then we extend it and we save all the images with the numbers so we don't get confused. And the format is WebN because it was a video. So image 0, and the next is image 1, 2, 3, 4, as you can see. So it is completely modular in that regard. Then you have this find audio length. So you just find the audio length of your voiceover because you have to configure it. So let me just explain to you here that as well. So you have these images like 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have so many images, and you have this voiceover. These can be random, even though we have videos here, but we can stretch them and squeeze them, their length, but we cannot stretch and squeeze the voiceover. I mean, we can, but that's going to ruin the whole thing. So the concept is that you need to have a consistent voiceover length, whatever it may be. And then we just make the video from these images and we just stretch them accordingly. So suppose you have a 40-second voiceover. This is 40. This is a voiceover. Then you have all these images. Suppose you have 10, and each image takes 3 seconds. That means you have a 30-second video by default, but you can stretch it and fit it in the 40-second voiceover, and now you have everything working perfectly. So that's what we're doing here. That's the reason why we find out the audio length, and after we find out the audio length, we construct the image path array. After you have this image path array from here, this is going to get all the images list, and then we're going to customize the video presets. So if you choose some other song, you have to change this as well, because else it won't work. It'll just say file doesn't exist. So I've added the same place and the music name and the file overlay as well. So we have everything considered. So we have everything configured here. And then after we have the entire thing configured, we can take it to the image duration. Then this is going to take the upper limit of the image duration, right? Because it is pretty technical and you can just read it here if you can code. So we take the input length of the audio, we take the duration, then we take the number of images, we divide the second by the number of images, and we take its seal, the higher limit, upper limit. And that's what gives us the maximum duration or the upper limit of the duration. Because if you see, the audio length was 38.194. So that's going to be pretty hard to incorporate, right? So that's why you make it just a whole number, 39. And then we generate the video. And this is simpler from the last time. It is just this long, but except we're making some adjustments here. Firstly, we get the input directory, then we get the audio file, then we get the audio duration, and then we take the location where we want to output it. And this part after that is implementing everything I showed you here, that you need to get the voiceover length and then you need to smartly stretch it or squeeze it. So this is what this part is doing, that it can just combine everything and stretch it or however much is the scale. So you can see it's looping and everything. So that's what this does. And after you have the video and you can say that it's successful, it creates the video and it just saves it here in the videos. If I open it, so this is the first video it made. And then what I did was I have another node which takes the video and then it adds the music with a 0.2 strength, because then the audio will overpower it, like the music will overpower it. So this is where you can adjust the volume percent. If just 1 or this is 20%. And now you add the overlay. So the overlay is this file. And now this is adding the overlay, which is the fire overlay, which I just showed you in one of these videos, as you can see.
Difficulty strengthen the
You can see all these flying elements. In the last video, I showed you the film overlay, but now this is the new overlay. You can just change it according to yourself. You can download it, save it, just change the preset, and that's going to be all. So that creates the final video we need, except the subtitles. And then I'm gonna read this file from the disk, which we just saved. As you can see, I read the final file, upload it to the S3 node because that's where the NCA toolkit is gonna get it, right? So the NCA toolkit gets it from your min.io, and then it adds the subtitles, and then you just set your upload settings and download the file again from min.io because that's where NCA toolkit uploads it. So now this is the final thing. This looks kind of confusing. Like, why are we uploading the same file to the Google Drive and downloading it again? But I'll show you why we do that. So if you look at this download final video, and if you see here that we downloaded with a file type of binary octet string, the MIME type is binary octet string. So if you try to upload this video to this YouTube node, it's not going to take it. It only takes video MP4 types. So when you fetch the video file from this S3 node, it just converts it. It just changes the file type for some reason. So this seems to be the easiest option. You just upload it to Drive to a folder, and you just download it again from that folder. It just changes it automatically to the MP4. And now you can just upload it anywhere you want. You can either have upload post, Blotato, custom APIs, and I'm going to release another video of how you can upload to TikTok for free as well. Now this node just flips the to published actually. So if you just flip it, you'll get this. So that is how this entire system works, and you get that image.